It only took 30 seconds for every phone in Britain to vibrate the alarm, 30 seconds during which your brain tried to remember whether that flash on the horizon was lightning or something far worse. 30 seconds will decide whether you join the living or the statistics. Welcome back to Charlie Survival. Today I'm going to hand you the single most practical field manual you've ever heard, because recent headlines leave no doubt that Britain has slipped back onto the nuclear chessboard. On 21st of July 2025, evasion journalists spotted a new Grim Reaper challenge coin at the Royal International Air Tattoo. Its shape, a literal mushroom cloud wrapped around a B-6112 bomb. The coin belongs to the 493rd Fighter Generation Squadron at RAF Lakenheath, and analysts say it signals to the quiet return of US tactical nukes to British soil after a 17-year absence. 4 days later, campaigners demanded that Prime Minister Keir Starmer confirm or deny the deployment. After an American C-17, one of the few airframes certified to haul nuclear weapons, landed in Suffolk with its transponder cheerfully broadcasting all the way from Kirtland AFB. If that wasn't dramatic enough, President Donald Trump has just ordered 2 US nuclear-powered submarines into the appropriate regions after Dmitry Medvedev's online threats of a retaliatory strike. Reuters called it an unusually dramatic gesture for any US president. So yes, deterrence politics is back with a vengeance, and the United Kingdom, nestled between the Lakenheath faults and the Vanguard submarines at False Lane, is once again a prime target. What matters to you is that nuclear war no longer feels like a dusty Cold War trivia. It is a live possibility, and ordinary civilians should know exactly what to do from the first blinding flash to the week after the fallout. This could be the most important video of the decade. If you watch it once, you'll hold the critical moves in muscle memory. Watch it twice and you'll be the person neighbours follow when panic hits. Why does any of this matter to someone living in the UK? Let's break it down in plain language. Nuclear weapons are meant to stop wars by scaring enemies. If an enemy knows you can hit back hard, they may think twice before attacking. The UK already has its own nuclear force on Trident submarines. These subs hide deep under the sea, carrying big missiles that can reach almost anywhere on Earth. But now there is a second layer of firepower: smaller American bombs kept on British soil. What is nuclear sharing? After World War II, the United States promised to help protect its NATO friends. Part of that promise is a plan called nuclear sharing. It means the US keeps a limited number of bombs in several European countries, ready to use if NATO is ever in real danger. Britain normally does not take part because we have Trident, but RAF Lakenheath in Suffolk has once again been chosen to store a few of these US bombs. Meet the B-6112. The bomb stored at Lakenheath is the B-6112. Think of it like a giant flashlight with a dimmer switch. Pilots can turn the power down or crank it up before dropping it. At its weakest setting, it equals 0.3 kilotons, roughly the size of a large city block. At its strongest, it reaches 50 kilotons, about 3 times the bomb dropped on Hiroshima. The bomb can fit under an F-35A jet, one of the fastest and stealthiest planes in the world. Speed and geography matter. An F-35A taken off from Suffolk can fly about 1,200 miles an hour. That is 18 miles every minute, faster than a drive from London to Brighton. From Lakenheath, the pilot could reach Kaliningrad, a key Russian base on the Baltic Sea, in under 90 minutes. Because the plane is stealthy, radar operators might not notice it until it is very close. Why would Russia strike first? Military planners always think about worst case scenarios. Russian leaders worry that Western jets could hit them quickly. To keep that from happening, they might decide to destroy Lakenheath first if a crisis ever looks like it could turn into war. From their point of view, wiping out the jets and bombs early is cheap insurance. The dangerous idea of a small nuke. The B-6112 can be dialed down so low that some politicians might think we can just use a tiny nuke and avoid an all-out war. Experts call this thinking very risky. Even a so-called small bomb of 10 kilotons, about the size used on Hiroshima, would tear apart a port city, smash phone lines and knock out power stations for miles. the UK Prime Minister would only have a few minutes to choose how to respond. What you can control. All of this high-level strategy is out of your hands, but one thing is under your control: how quickly you act if a flash lights up the sky. This guide turns survival into 3 simple time blocks. Seconds to react. Drop down, cover your eyes and protect your ears from the shockwave. Minutes to shelter. Move fast to a strong building, basement or a deep underground platform before radioactive dust starts falling. Days to endure and evacuate. Stay put while radiation gets weaker, then leave only when officials or safe readings say it is time. Remember, knowing these steps ahead of time could save your life and the lives of people around you when seconds count. Anatomy of the blast. Imagine a 10 kiloton device airburst 550 meters above Canary Wharf, small enough to fit inside a stolen delivery van or missile warhead, large enough to reorder London forever. Flash/thermal pulse 0 to 1 seconds. Temperatures on the ground exceed 3000 degrees Celsius, causing 3rd degree burns out to roughly 1.2 kilometers. EMP spike 0 to 1 seconds. Every unshielded circuit fries, cars stall, card readers die, mobile networks collapse. Initial gamma/neutron 0 to 1 seconds. Dangerous radiation can kill anyone within about half a mile if there's nothing in the way. Blast overpressure 1 to 10 seconds. A pressure of 7 psi can knock down most brick buildings within about half a mile, while even 2 psi can smash windows almost 2 miles away. Updraft and mushroom cloud 10 seconds. The fireball sucks up and melts huge amounts of broken brick, glass and dust, which turn radioactive and start falling back to the ground about 10 to 20 minutes later. The exact numbers change depending on how big the bomb is and how high it explodes, but the rule never changes. Keep your distance, pit up shielding and let time pass. This simple rule is taught in every US city and copied by UK safety planners. The first 5 seconds. You have less than a heartbeat before that white flash becomes a killing firewall. Don't stare, drop, cover your eyes, open your mouth, jaw slack to save your eardrums when the pressure wave hits. If you're indoors, dive behind brick or concrete and stay clear of windows. If you're outside, the nearest heavy curb, fountain, statue, anything adding mass between you and the direction of the flash. Stay down for a full 60 seconds. Modern guidance is explicit. Windows can implode a dozen seconds after the light and secondary shards kill as surely as the heat. The US CERT CERT manual says do not look outside for 1 minute after the bright flash. That minute is free armor, use it. The first minute. Cars flip, buses barrel roll, your instinct screams run, but your best odds are still behind solid cover until the primary shockwave passes. London's Victorian brickwork is surprisingly forgiving. 2 rows of dense masonry can cut deadly fragments by 80%. Steel skips, concrete lift shafts, the core of underground ticket halls. Think fortress. If you're driving, your vehicle's thin aluminium body panels and glass are worthless. Abandon it. Even if the EMP spared your ignition, the roads will gridlock within minutes. When the roaring stops, you'll hear it. A soft hiss like sand on a tin roof. That's fallout beginning to fall upstream of the cloud column. The clock for evacuation to shelter has started. The golden 15 minutes. Ready.gov's nuclear sheet is blunt. You will have 10 minutes or more to find an adequate shelter. Treat it as 12 minutes if you're inside the M25, less if wind is gusty. Priority 1, pick destination, not direction. Ignore the jammed streets, you're faster on foot. Your targets, basement or deep car parks, 3 meters of earth overhead halves gamma dose by 90%. Tall concrete buildings, halfways in the middle near the lifts. Subsurface rail, deepest northern line platforms are 20 to 60 meters down. Ideal if access stairs aren't blocked. Priority 2, move smart. Keep your mask, yes, the box of FFP2s still under the sink from the pandemic, over mouth and nose. It doesn't stop gamma, but it blocks inhalation of hot dust, slashing internal contamination risk. Priority 3, layer up. Every extra centimetre of dense material matters. In office blocks, raid stationary cupboards, stacks of printer paper against inside walls help block radiation, and even an old whiteboard can help. Arrive, then seal. Close fire doors, wedge towels in the gaps, or use duct tape and tape to seal any gaps in doors and windows. Shut off aircon intakes if controls are accessible. Fans will drag fallout inside. Last job, check your group. If someone is throwing up, that means they got a dangerous dose of radiation. Give them water and kindness, but save most of the space and supplies for people who can still survive. It's harsh, but you need to keep your energy for those who have the best chance. 48 hours in the bunker. Supplies checklist for your pre-prepped go bag. 3 litres of drinking water per person per day. High calorie foods like oat bars, peanut butter, tinned sardines, battery or wind up dab radio, first aid kit plus potassium iodate tablets, duct tape, bin liners, nitrile gloves, LED torch, spare batteries, notepad and pencil, pens dry out. Water. If your home and main pressure still exist, fill the bathtub and buckets now. A bath bob is ideal for this and will stop any dust contaminating the water. You can find it in my Amazon kit list, as well as everything you need for realistic, level-headed UK survival. I will leave the link in the description below. Chlorinated tap water stores fine for a fortnight. Radiation curve. Fallout loses about 55% of its intensity in the first hour, 80% after 24 hours. This follows the easy to remember 7 to 10 rule. Every time 7 hours passes, the radiation outside becomes about 10 times weaker. Stay where you are for at least 48 hours before you think about moving, unless a fire or the building falling down forces you out. Hygiene and decontamination. Make a special dirty room, like a small hallway or a disabled toilet, where anyone returning from a supply trip takes off their top layer of clothing and puts them in a bin bag. Shower or use wet wipes to clean any bare skin, and don't use hair conditioner because it can trap radioactive dust. Psychological first aid. Rotate duties. Even the steely type may crack on night 2. Remind each other that with every tick of the clock, the radiation outside is literally dying. Intel. Turn on battery powered or wind up radios, a DAB, FM or AM model, anything that doesn't need the mains. Tune until you hear the BBC's emergency message. Keep listening. When the radiation outside drops below 1 MSV per hour, about the same dose as 100 dental x-rays in an hour, the government will tell you which roads and paths are safe to use. Day 3 to day 7. If official guidance hasn't arrived by dawn on day 3, prepare a cautious perimeter sweep. Wear the thickest soled shoes you own. Fallout concentrates in gutters and puddles. A cheap dosimeter key fob might save your life. If readings exceed 1 MSV per hour, retreat immediately. For water, rooftops may still feed gravity tanks. Test clarity, then boil or filter. For food, vending machines, sealed tins, anything shrink wrapped, brush off packaging outside before bringing it in. By day 7, dose rates in Stratford after a 10 kiloton airburst model would likely sit around 0.1 MSV. Ugly, but survivable for limited errands. If you must evacuate, then choose crosswind routes. Fallout plumes drift with prevailing southwest winds. Heading due north or south keeps you perpendicular to the cloud. Remember Trump's submarines? They're a reminder the sea lanes belong to NATO. MOD planners will prioritise maritime lifelines. Plymouth, Liverpool, Roseneath. If rail is dead, Royal Fleet auxiliary ships will become floating trade hospitals. Find a navigatable river and follow it downstream. Long-term resilience. Britain has recovered from nuclear destruction before. Hiroshima and Nagasaki prove urban areas can be rebuilt within a decade, but you face months of rolling blackouts, rationed pharmaceuticals, and contaminated farmland. Hotspot avoidance. Stay away from low, flat areas like the Fens, the Severn Valley, and the Clyde Estuary. Higher ground, the Pennines, the Cairngorms, get cleaner rain and has springs that are less likely to be polluted. Food chain. Eat fruits with thick skins like oranges or bananas, but peel them first and throw the skins away. Wait at least 6 months before eating root vegetables such as potatoes or carrots. By then, the soil will have lost most of the radiation. Farmers won't be allowed to butcher animals right away, so expect government issued powdered milk instead of fresh milk. Medicine. I-131 is a type of radiation that fades after a few weeks. Two others, cesium-137 and strontium-90, can stay harmful for many years. If you collect wild plants for food, rinse them in water mixed with baking soda. This helps wash away the radioactive dust. Community. Communities stay stronger when at least 30 adults work together. Form small teams, share radiation meters, and take turns doing outdoor jobs so no one gets too much radiation. Let's look at those big stories again. The US bombs at Lakenheath, the arguments in Parliament, and the submarine standoffs in the Arctic. They don't guarantee a nuclear war, but they do raise the risk of someone making a dangerous mistake. The best response is not fear or denial, but simple readiness. Think of nuclear survival like CPR training. You hope you'll never need to use it, yet in a crisis, it buys precious minutes until professionals arrive. So like this video, download the transcript, and if one grey afternoon your screen floods white and the power trips, breathe, count 1000 and move. You'll be the calm voice in the chaos, the difference between tragedy and survival. I've spent months putting practical real-world kit into one place on Amazon to help you out. I'll leave the link in the description to the list, and feel free to join the Charlie Survival Facebook group where you can find some incredible information and share your own. Head over to Equilor to sign up to the mailing list. Stay ready, stay wild. Charlie Survival signing off.